with Brisgell and David Solomon. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
Hey everybody, David Solomon here. How you doing? Hope all is well, and I just hope that everybody is having a great day. I'm here waiting for Stuart to join us. He is stuck right now, so I'm hoping that I'll get him to come and join very soon. So look, I'm hoping that everybody's having a wonderful day, and that if you're one of those people who've seen what COVID has done in terms of the variants and with respect to vaccinations. If you've been vaccinated, then awesome, right? You got your double vaccine. You're doing great. That's amazing. But here's the question. What about for those people who didn't get vaccinated or won't get vaccinated or what have you? I mean, there's all kinds of, situations and questions and this, that, and the next thing. So, the question now becomes is, what if you go to work and you don't get vaccinated? Like, what if you don't get vaccinated? Does your employer have the right to penalize you? Does your employer have the right to do something to impact your abilities at work? Because right now, this is becoming a real question mark. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard, what happened with Delta Airlines, okay? But Delta Airlines, for example, all right, how about this for a fun thing that Delta Airlines is doing? Delta Airlines is going to impose a $200 monthly surcharge. That's right, $200 monthly surcharge on unvaccinated staff. Now, that led us to think about, well, so what happens then? What would happen if, what would happen at the point where our companies are going to be able to penalize you if you don't get vaccinated? Is that not a new form of discrimination? And I wonder and worry, as companies are trying to figure this whole thing out, do they have the right to do so? Do they have the right to impose this? Now, discrimination comes in all forms and all shapes and sizes. And we've seen this in workplace environments where, we're talking about you can't hire, it can't be a discrimination for hiring, right? So we have the diversity, we have the inclusiveness, we have all that stuff. We cannot, discriminate because of sex, gender, whatever. There's a gazillion different reasons why we can't. But now, COVID suddenly is going to be that new type of, of discrimination. So imagine, if you will, right now, you're a Delta Airlines employee, and you've been told that if you don't get vaccinated, we're charging you $200 extra off your health. Now, in Canada, it doesn't really happen this way because where health is covered on a public side. But these companies, there are 75,000 Delta workers who are being told you better be doubly vaccinated, or there's a penalty. Now, if you're living in a place where it's a live and let live situation, where we've seen quite a few states, or you have the philosophy, or you're an anti-vaxxer, or you can't get the vaccine because there's a problem, you've basically been discriminated against. I mean, that's really what this comes down to. According to what Delta claims, is that the average hospital stay costs Delta $50,000 per person if they stay in a hospital. Now, we've seen that with the double vaccines, you are going to have a very high likelihood of not being, required to go to the hospital. High likelihood. There's an 85%, what you're seeing statistics, about 85% of the people who are getting this Delta variant or other COVID are currently people who have, one or less vaccines, one or didn't get vaccinated. But Delta Airlines is going out of their way right now to tell people we ain't paying for you anymore. So if you're going to be, don't want to be doubly vaccinated, we're charging you. Does this lead the door to be open to other things? Does this change what does this change, what the workplace is going to do? Are we going to suddenly hire people based on, could you imagine what the resume has to say? I mean, it's enough that you say your name, your phone number, your work history, and blah, 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 blah. Is there going to have to be a line right now that says, I'm doubly vaccinated? I mean, are we not going to, is this going to be the next line of questioning at HR? Are you doubly vaccinated? If not, you cannot apply to job. The province of Manitoba has put out, I wanted to look and see what's out there in terms of, other, when it comes to this. And there is a code, and you are not supposed to discriminate using COVID-19 as the reasons. Now, the gist of it, from what I'm gathering, is simply, hey, look, if someone has COVID, you cannot penalize them for getting COVID. You can't hurt them for getting COVID. You can't discipline them or terminate them because they're unable to come to work because of COVID. All that is in case you get COVID. What it doesn't say is about vaccinations. What it hasn't gone, and where we need to write the rules, are going to be like tomorrow. It's going to be like, so I'm going to be vaccinated. I need to be vaccinated. Do I need to be like, we're writing new rules today as we speak. It's frightening, though, that companies are taking certain liberties. Now, we've seen in sporting events that they've said, hey, if you're going to go to a sporting event in Toronto, for example, you must show proof of double vaccination, or you don't have COVID. You have to go for a COVID test. That's because I want to attend show. But now they're saying that the employees must be doubly vaccinated. That means they can't be hired if they're not double vaxxed. And what about this third vaccine that is now, people are talking about the booster shot? Are we going to go to the third? If there's a fourth, where does it end? And we're coming up with a new form of workplace discrimination, where we're coming up with these new, again, these are unwritten rules. These are new. It's all new. But imagine that we are now stuck in a situation where companies are going to place rules in place. They're going to put these rules in, and then what? Then what? Are we going to go to court? Are there going to be class action lawsuits that say, that talk about, these type of you can't do this, you can't do that? Are the workmen's compensation boards across the provinces and the states, are they going to suddenly come out and say, oh, wait a second, you can't really do that? But in the meantime, right now, these companies are putting in these type of rules. And I get why Delta Airlines wants to do it. And I'll get why a cruise ship might want to do it and other people might want to do it. But you're saying to people who do not have the two vaccines, you can't work here, or we're going to penalize you. There'll be a financial penalty for working for Delta Airlines if you refuse to have the two vaccines, or wherever else it's going to go. And I'm wondering if that's all it's going to take to create this new type of situation in the workplace. And I don't know how you guys feel, and I'd love to see your comments, in our chats but really, I'm concerned. We talked about a labor shortage on Wednesday. There are not enough employees to go around. So if I'm going to hire somebody at a restaurant, am I imposing a double vaccination as my hiring policy? In theory, it sounds right. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but can I afford not to? Can Delta Airlines not afford to? I get Delta Airlines is saying, I need 75,000 employees to get back to where I used to be whatever. But then if you're not double vaxxed, I'm not going to give you the benefit of full health plan. You're going to have to pay for it. So I'm wondering at this point, what's next? Are we going to cut people's vacation time? Are we not going to hire people? Are we going to force vaccinations? Are we going to have vaccination clinics in the company? Are we going to then go to, oh, wait a second, you have to wear a mask. And if you don't wear a mask, we're to penalize you. Like, where does all this go? And I have no idea. But I am very worried. I am concerned about how these large corporations are rushing and making these moves. The governments are not even right now, are not moving at all. Governments have stopped and looked and waited and are waiting and are waiting and are waiting. It's typical. Here I know we have a Canadian election happening, so the federal government's not going to do anything right now. They're going to do anything they can to get reelected. It has nothing to do with they're not going to make the workplace environment better. They're just going to want to get voted in and worry about it later. But what about the U.S.? What about these states? And what about the federal government? Mr. Biden, where are you and your labor secretary looking into the impact of penalizing and hurting and imposing these rules on employees? We don't hear anything right now, but it's coming. It's coming. And more companies are going to start to do that, especially in the US when there is health insurance involved. If it's really true that $50,000 per every hospitalized employee is what it's going to cost the company, yeah, we're going to see a lot more of this. But then there are people going to say that that's discrimination, that you're not hiring me or you're treating me differently because of a decision I made. Now, I don't know. I don't know the legalities. I'm not a labor lawyer. I'm just bringing up these points because I'm worried. Because the moment we let loose on this end, what's next? Where does it go from here? And I'm waiting on companies and I'm waiting to see what else happens. But when I've seen what goes on in other areas in terms of training and discrimination training, as they call it, and I'm laughing because it's going to be a future rant where we're just going to expose that fallacy. But we see how companies like to copy each other. If Delta could do this and I could do this, then there's another airline that's going to do it. And then a large corporation, then there's GE and there's Coca-Cola and they're going to follow suit with something like that. I mean, what are you doing about it? Like, you're not going to hire somebody or you're going to penalize somebody because they're not doubly vaxxed. And if you're living in Florida and if you're living in Texas and if you're living in, South Dakota and whatever, where it's a live and let live philosophy, you're hurting those people. Yes, you could argue that it's not fair to everybody else because they could be carriers and they could be sick and it could hurt the company. I get it. But it is a new form of discrimination. It's just not called that way because we're masking it around our health. But it is a discrimination and it will be used badly by employers where necessary. If the rules aren't put into place at the government level, corporations will do whatever, however, whenever they want. If that's what the governments want, so be it. But I hope and pray that that's not where it goes. And I hope and pray that it's not where it ends, that we're not going to have employees stuck at home because they were told we only employ double vaxxed, or people saying I can't afford to go to work because my employer is penalizing me because I'm not double vaxxed. Don't know what you think about that, but I'd love to hear from you guys. And it would really be great if you guys could send it in our chats, put it in Facebook, on our YouTube channel, on our podcast channels. Love to hear from you about what you think about this and where you think the future is going for that. I don't know. I really don't know. We're in uncharted waters, but I'd be curious to see what you think and whether or not it's strong enough. Even are the corporations strong enough to try to encourage these things or not? And would you boycott a company that is doing this type of discrimination, this type of imposition? Would you fly Delta Airlines because of that? Love to hear from you guys. On that note, listen, I'm going to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stuart will be back here, for Monday, and we'll be back here on the Rant Network Check us out on all of our on the social network pages. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out everywhere where you get your podcast. We love you. We look forward to seeing you all next week.